All right, we're live once again from Belize City. G Mike in your company. Riding solo for now. The guys will be popping in, I'm sure, at some point during the show. It is the 20th of September, which means that tomorrow is Belize's Independence Day for the second independence year for Belize. And you might say that, well, we're full grown. You know, instead of 21, they kick you out of the house and birds, when the birds, these small birds, and get to a point where the mother think they should be learning to fly, then she no wait, they kick them out of the nest. And that's what a lot of parents do. And I don't got a problem with that. They say that what the best thing that a parent can do for their children is to teach them how to do for themselves. And when you continue to do things for your kids, you kind of like no encourage that confidence that's necessary for them to do it. We came through the tent. Before I get that though, let me offer condolences to our good friend Buddy Brown. Buddy Brown's sister passed away, and I believe he had a sister that passed away earlier this year or last year again. So that kind of like hitting it. I see my good friend Joko is to the rescue in the house. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, man. Nice to see you as always, and for the people out there. Remember, if you have anything, any comment you want to make, if you want to be on the show, just touch bases with CY. He could put you on. You can become involved for any period of time. You don't have to stay the whole show. You could pop a question. If there are any issues you want to see us discuss, we ain't afraid of no ghosts. We go all over the place and all the things. Um, we, I was saying that the 21st is tomorrow. We just came through the 10th, and the 10th is Joe on life support. It's not as vibrant, certainly not near as vibrant as it was before. Uh, Gregory has checked in. Good evening, Gregory.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Joe. We missed you last week.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
evening, Gregory.
we just struggled without the man, but we had a decent show last week. A nice show. And in fact, Bobby was
we had
quite
we had some
entertaining.
guests. We were crowded with guests.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, but I don't know. Where went about the 10th of September? Are we gonna bring it back, or are we gonna let it just go dormant? Just let it go. Let it forget it.
Are you asking?
I think the tent should be repurposed in the sense that we must not continue to see it as something that we are tolerating for the sake of trying to placate those who were supposed to be from that partisan movement. I think we should stop seeing it as if though it is not a part of the national movement of this country. And I say repurpose in the sense that let's give it a place in our celebration, in the sense that we treat it as the time when the nation was conceived and try to put independence as the day when the nation was born. In other words, I think we have been sidelining it and it's beginning to die out. But one good thing coming from that good lady that had kept it alive so long, I was talking with daughter the other morning. I must say that the spirit is there, but sometimes the flesh get tired.
You forget the name now.
Yeah, the lady man that was with him, very good friend of Mr. Goldson.
No, Emma.
That's right.
Okay,
She's a
Emma
hero.
Boyton. I forget.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say that in a nutshell, we should repurpose it and to make it as a significant part of the celebrations that made independence possible.
But Joe, is the PUP against the tent? Is that because that's a perception, and there are many people who are PUP who are against it because they are PUP, as opposed to even understanding the rationale behind the celebration.
I don't think the PUP is against the tent, but I don't think they are for it as they should. You know, when you tolerate somebody, It's different from when you love somebody and you treat them with respect. The tent has been tolerated to some extent simply because you don't want to offend those people who support it. But I think the tent should be factored in as a part of the time when this nation was conceived. I'm just putting it conceptually. And
Yeah.
to give it the significance, I believe, to unite this nation strongly behind the celebrations of September. We know tomorrow, the 21st, the Prime Minister will give a glorified speech about his magnificent achievement. The leader of the opposition will seek to discredit. And that's the nature of the politics when we bring it into partisan politics focus. But nevertheless, I don't think we should allow the tent to be just drifting along and don't give it the significance. As simple saying, let's repurpose it. Let us put it as part of our achievement of independence and see it like that.
Greg, your mic is muted, Greg. Do you, is it, you believe that people just can't bring themselves to believe that a small band of B-men could have stood up against the Spanish Armada? Is it that they just, because I've heard there's a rabid PUP person there on Facebook that you can't convince him no coconut boy stick when they fight no musket, and they stretch it to all kind of ridiculous proportions there. What is it, Gregory? What do you think that the reason why it's lost its muster?
Well, it has been smothered for a very long time. Way back in the 70s or so, the smothering of the tent start happening once we start pushing the real independence, and I think it was a long time before that. Though they had two political procession for the tent before independence, and so from the time um, when PUP gained independence, they have made it a strategic effort to nullify whatever the tent represented. And I don't think it serves the nation well.
But
It-
why what would be the rationale behind them doing that?
why did they do it?
Why, yeah, why?
Well, I think that their emphasis and focus have been independence, and they saw the tent as probably being a little divisive. I think they ran away with the illusion that the Spaniards that we fought were the Hispanic people and Mayan people that are now part of Belize and made up Belize now. And there's no way that is true. The Spaniards we fought were colonizers, and they victimized the Mayans and the native indigenous people of Central America that makes up most of the refugees and people that comes to Belize, and that no way when we speak of defeating the Spaniards and victory over the Spaniards are we talking about the native Belizeans that are indigenous to the region. And so I think the misconception, and it was probably part of the entire PUP structure that did it, and maybe to their own lost in some regards, but
Yeah.
that I believe has been part of why it has nullified it. The fact that some people complains that there is no way that Coconut Boy stick and such would have defeated the Spanish armadas that approached Belize. It's true. We never did have a hand-to-hand combat in Belize, but that doesn't say that they couldn't have the native people and the slaves and such couldn't have armed themselves with those weapons as spears. We know those are effective tools throughout history. And if you're coming in a small boat, 10, 12 people, and they were to toss those at you, you get 50 of those sharp sticks coming at you, it could have done some harm, I believe. And so, but we never had had that contest. It seems like the contest we had was always at sea, and they may have fired some cannonballs into the area, the country, and the Keys, St. George's Key, and the baymen and the slaves returned some fire, and they also dislodged the buoys that the Spaniards had placed to allow them to cross through the reef, and so they lost their ability to make safe landing. And so as nightfall came, they kind of, from what I read, they kind of feared that there would be attack, that the Baymans and the slaves were more mobile with them than them. They knew the area and they would attack them, and so they withdraw, and then they spent another couple of days out at sea, and then eventually they withdraw. So something happened, and we did in some ways frustrated their effort to retake the country of Belize, and so it represents the embryo of our birth.
I want to, sorry,
Go ahead.
I
Yeah,
want to
you're in.
respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Morrison,
On what point?
on the point that I believe that when the PUP was downplaying the tent, I think they were justified in doing it. And they did it because the tent was being promoted by the Royal Creole as a pro-British celebration. The PUP was fighting for independence. And we have to understand that at that time, which I lived that period myself too, and I like to say that aside, the point is that the tent was promoted strongly as a pro-British celebration by the Royal Creole.
No,
PUP, on the other hand,
the tent was never support for the British. It was always a defense that Belizeans fought for Belize defense, and
yeah, I get cut off.
it was never support.
Yeah,
It was
let me
never
just, sorry about
we are
that.
British. It was never that. No, that
Let me just,
was,
sorry,
it was
I got cut off because a call came in which shouldn't have come in.
All right.
On the phone. I just want to finish the point that this, I'm giving her the facts of the period, that the tent was promoted as in fact a pro-British by the Royal Creole. That was the fact. Now, at the
I don't
time,
know what
the
that means.
PUP
What do you mean by pro? If you go say that, you need to define what you mean. They were supporting British. If it's pro-British, what support that provided to London
because
and to the governor and obsticate for not promoting Belize as a country.
because
Belize.
the reality, Mr. Morrison, in Belize was that in fact there was a group called the Royal Creole.
Of
And
course, that
I'm
only
not
Evan Hyde
disrespecting
created
them.
that group. Evan Hyde created
Let
that
me
out
say
of
this.
his
I'm not
fantasy.
disrespecting them because many of them are part of my family. And I understood what they were doing. And I knew what they were doing. They were a part of my family. But I'm saying to you that even at the time under Golson, he was in fact promoting more anti-independence movement.
Was Golson a part of this
Golson was
this
promoting.
Royal Creole thing?
Let me just
he was.
address that.
He
No,
was.
Golson was not a Royal Creole. The person that coined that term, I believe, was Evan X. Hyde. He kind of did that. Golson was against independence, not for the sake of being against independence from Britain and claiming all right, but he was against independence because he was concerned about the situation with Guatemala, and he didn't feel that he felt that if Belize got independence, it would in fact fall trap to Guatemalan behavior, and we have seen that in some respect.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mr. Morrison.
I don't know.
No, Mr. Morrison, let me correct that. What you are saying is true. It is true.
It is true in your opinion.
No, but the reality of it, that we would have gotten independence in 1964.
Of course we would have.
But the reason why we didn't is for the same reason that the Guatemalan threat.
Yes.
So Golson was told at the time that, listen, we agree that we cannot go for independence now because of the Guatemalan threat. And we asked him at the time, the PUP, to let us come together and see what we can do to resolve that. So it was not a case that the PUP was going for independence and ignoring the threat. So what they did, we got self-government. where the British maintained control over defense, they retained control of foreign affairs, and they retained control over the public service. And then the Goldsmith was asked to, now let us come together and let us see how we can resolve the Guatemalan dispute. So if that is the obstacle, we will hold on. And then if we come together, we will move to independence. But I'm only saying this, I believe, and I stand to what I said before, we should repurpose the Battle of St. George's Key, the 10th. I don't think we should allow it to just go away.
I
think
agree
we should
with you.
recognize it.
If
And we should
for
give it
us
some
to
part
do
of our
that, though,
history.
for us to do that, we will have to find another Miss Emma who is as passionate enough to lead the charge. But also, we're going to have to get rid of this divisive way of thinking where
That's right.
we some of us believe it happened, some don't believe it happened, some believe that because of a PUP thing, some believe that on NIP, UDP thing.
That's right.
Can we see country, you think? Can we say this that Belize, what happened is for all of our benefits. We as Belizeans all benefited from what happened in 1798 and what happened in 1981, because the independence, Jolson was proven wrong, Gregory, that it's 42 years and nothing has occurred.
That's right.
So,
And I'm sure he recognized that Belize stood on independence. I don't know what his regards were, what his comments were after independence. I have to kind of research that to see how he termed himself, how he reconciled himself with.
well, he was opposition. He was
No,
opposition. So,
but still, people will make personal and private comments, and I've spoken to Mr. Goldston a lot privately, but I never did ask him that specific question. What did he think of Belize now that it was independent, and the threat that we feared most did not materialize to the extent. But we do have struggle with Guatemala. They have not taken over our country, but they do harass us and they do victimize us in our own territory of the Sarstoon. And I'm hoping that we kind of find some protocol that we could operate and maintain our presence there, and not being harassed, and that they will manage their people that goes over there and devastate the forestry and the other natural resources in that area. So
well, you're all right. That is one thing. What do you feel about the situation with the Belize volunteers going out to Sarstoon? And
I think it's their right, and I think they represents all of us when they make that effort, and they saw the emphasize that this is our territory.
do you think it's having any benefit, any positive benefits?
Of course.
Let me ask you a question. Let me one hypothetical question, if you will. What happens if one of those Guatemalan guns go off, even accidentally, and a Belizean gets shot when that is happening out there? What do you think is would that spark? Would that spark? Very unfortunate. And aren't we taunting that? Aren't we trying to make that happen?
No, I don't think we're trying to make it happen. I think by standing up and defending and demonstrating your sovereignty over your country is not taunting anyone.
Are you familiar with the Sarstoon Island?
Yes.
I have one more question for you. Do you think if that any wealthy Guatemalan came over and wanted to buy that island, that it would be sold?
I hope to hell not, because that island represents a part of our outport and claim to part of the Caribbean Sea, and so it is estimated that a lot of natural resources is part of that claim of our territorial.
Yeah, just the Sarstoon Island, because
just a part of that. Yeah,
you know that the river.
If you don't have that, you don't have that opening space that makes that claim to our territorial waters. You see?
Whoa, no, because the island actually sits in the middle of the river. When the river goes,
yes, but it opens up into the Caribbean Sea.
The island is not. Sorry, the island is not the middle of the river.
I didn't hear what you said.
The island is not
Uh-huh.
at the middle of the Sarstoon River. It is on our side completely.
Yes, it
The
is on our
median at the
side. Yeah.
Sarstoon
Hold
Yeah.
up, hold up,
part is
hold up, hold up,
outside the
hold up.
island.
Oh, you wait, Joe. Let's be real about this, because I've looked at the map. It is not. It's there. The Sartsun runs to the island, and then it goes around. But
Right.
the territory, the border, is supposed to be at the deepest depth of the river, which as deepest
In the
point.
middle.
That's where
Yeah.
the territory is, and that of course goes around the island. And yes, in that way, it it encompasses the island. But the river, as it flows to the island, it meets the island. I was wondering, what if they split the island and say, well, let's make this a no
Why we
man's
gonna
land,
split it?
let's
It's
make it an
ours. No,
economic
no,
zone?
no. Why we gonna split it? Come on
Are,
now.
are
But
you?
Mr. Chairman, can you,
The Prime
Mr.
Minister,
Chairman, can you
George Price,
enlighten
said
me
not
on?
one,
Can you
not
enlighten
one
me on that?
centimeter.
But it is what I'm saying. Are you that inflexible on that? Are you gonna hold
Yes,
that to the
yes,
end? That
yes, yes.
you would not even
Mm,
budge an inch for that?
No, once you give an inch, you might as well give the whole
That's not
thing.
true. That's like the
Yeah.
argument they're making with Ukraine, which I don't go for. But
But
anyway,
Well,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
yeah.
you said something just now. I'd like to be enlightened on it. You said that something about the deeper part. Where is
Right.
that from? Under the international law?
That is by the treaty where it defines the border for Belize.
What part of the treaty?
The,
No.
the deepest part, the deepest I believe it's deepest point of the river is where the line for the border.
But isn't that
But which
changeable?
treaty
That
is that?
well,
No, which treaty is
that
that?
is
Which
What you
treaty?
mean with as nature goes about and changes it from one to the other?
right. I
Well,
don't
No,
think
no, no.
there's
Mr.
such a. I
Chairman,
don't think there's.
what
yes.
treaty is it that
Why
says
I read it in the and I don't have it in front of me. The 1859 treaty that defined the border of Belize. And the border that it specifically states that it runs down the Sarstoon River at its deepest point,
yeah,
which
but
is where
the border, when it
yes.
comes outside of land, is defined under international law. So
Yeah,
the river is water,
yeah,
and they
and
use
it's
the median line
half.
for the river.
Yeah,
Right.
When you take the median line,
yes,
the island fall on Belize side.
right.
Yeah, I said that. I
So
said
it
that.
is for
Yeah.
Belize. The
I
island
agree
is
with
for Belize, the
yeah,
whole of it.
yeah. Of course it goes there. Well, let us see. I'm thinking though that we have it in front of the ICJ. Whether you agree to have gone to go or not, we are going to the ICJ, and by consensus, by a vote, a referendum. So I think maybe we should be calm, because if we're gonna be belligerent and be spitting on the Guatemalan flag and be insulting the Guatemalans,
Who said
who
they spit on the? Who said they spit on the Guatemalan? The Guatemalan flag is not in a place that they could spit on it.
hold up. That was done at a press conference at the Biltmore.
Oh. Well, those are theatrics. I'm not concerned
Can,
about it.
can I
They,
inject
they,
again, Mr.
they,
Chairman?
they took our flag. They took our flag down, and we don't know what they did with it. So I don't care that somebody would spit on the Guatemalan flag. That has nothing to do with.
But I
with
think that the chairman is making a very meritorious statement, and I would want it to go by. Just let me comment on it. I believe that what they are doing out there is for good intention. It's good. But I think that the chairman has a point. Are we being unduly provocative and inflammatory when it's not necessary? I think that's
Well,
the concern.
I'm not
he's
saying no to
expressing.
that. I'm not saying no to
And
that.
I think that there's a point. In other words, yes, we want to assert our rights to what is ours. But let's be careful how we do it, because we can cause some blood to be spilled in that river.
I understand that, but
That's what
what
I
do
think
we
is
do?
the
But yeah,
concern
that's
being expressed.
that's
No.
correct. But if Guatemala is claiming it, if Guatemala is harassing us, is Guatemala is preventing us from stepping on the island, from
But
patrolling, from going around the island consistently. Every single time we do that, they harass us.
you know what?
Shouldn't we-
You know
don't
what?
we have a right to show that we have a right to this property?
If
It's
we
like
were going,
it's just
if we were going around that island for a specific purpose, if we
we're
had
going for purpose of demonstrating our right. That's the specific purpose of going around it, and we have that right, and no one, nowhere should be stopping us. Not our government,
Yo,
not the
yo,
Guatemalan government.
Gregory, that
Not
is
the-
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
no, 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 no,
It's
no, no, no.
pointless.
No, it's not.
It is frivolous to say that I'm just going around here to show you that I can go around here. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Look at it. They go around it and they spend an hour or two, and
Right.
Guatemala has the capacity and the will of it for the next 365 days.
Right. So what good does it do?
And 22 hours.
What good does it do then, except
it
to antagonize
demonstrates-
them? And
it
what are you
dem-
going to do? What are we going to do should this blow up into something?
Well, we hope it doesn't. We hope that
No,
that
but hope is not going to do it. Though. But if you keep instigating, you're making sure it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well,
It's
it could
come
happen.
close to it.
It could happen. It could happen. I'm not denying that.
So
But
why
it
would we
doesn't-
want to risk that? It's
because
already in
you
front of
wanna
the court.
demonstrate your
Why
right.
don't we?
It's just-
I would say let's wait until this matter goes before the court. But in the meantime, we could be uniting ourselves as opposed we're divided as it is, and with the PUP, UDP, and foolishness there, and the whole matter. We don't even know what to celebrate and what not. What do you think about the situation in Benke, where the teachers thought that they shouldn't march on the 15th because it falls on the day of the
the independence of the
independence
Central
of
America?
Guatemala?
Yeah,
What
I think we should have released all those teachers from their responsibility as teaching our children.
what?
I
And
said
do what?
I think
And did what? And what? You mean fire them?
I think they're incompetent. I think they don't know Belize history. I don't think they're loyal, patriotic citizens. to the
What
country
did
of
they
Belize.
not know? What about Belize history that they didn't know, Gregory?
They didn't know that our national celebration is the 10th of September.
And but they said it didn't happen on the 10th of September. It happened on the 15th. What happened actually?
I'm sorry, on the 15th, on the 15th.
Right, and which is Guatemala's Independence Day.
Yes.
And I know, Joe, your point is that the other Central American countries also celebrate independence on the 15th.
Yes.
That is true. The others don't have a claim on us. We don't have a problem with them. In fact, I wouldn't have a problem with Guatemala. If Guatemala would drop that claim, I would say, by all means, let us all celebrate on the 15th. I wonder what would have happened if George Price had said, let us get independence on the 15th of September. Like
They
the
have
other-
said we're part of Guatemala.
Well, isn't it the same thing when you celebrate then on the 15th? Can it not be said the same thing then?
But we weren't
You're
celebrating
celebrating their independence in Benke, especially right on the border. Can you see where that could be misconstrued as something more than it's meant to be? We have the entire month of September. Why could we not have that that rally on another day? If and when we settle this case with Guatemala, we can have it on the 15th. Until then, I don't think we should. I don't think we should invite them to participate in our sporting events. I don't think we should have that kind of interaction because we need to, and that is how I think we should object and state our
I don't
case.
have a problem with having sporting and relationship with Guatemala, even at this stage, because I think on a people-to-people basis, it is different than what government behaves. So I don't have a problem. I don't even have a problem with the Guatemalan kids coming into Belize and learning. I hope that there is some commensurate payment to the government of Belize for educating those children, and there's some arrangement that allows us to kind of cover some of those costs. But I don't have any problem with that. That's been going on for generations. That's not something new. That's been going on for 100 years or very considerable number of years. And they have had Belizean citizens that goes to Guatemala and get medical treatment that's right over the border there, because it's closer than getting into Belize, interior into the central part of Belize, Belmopan, or wherever else they need to go.
Yeah, but on the borderline, we move cross on cross, no problem.
Yes,
We go over,
yes.
they come over. The question I want to come back to is that, Mr. Morrison, you are saying that the teachers What did the teachers do? They were opposing to having any kind of activity on the 15th.
Yes, that
Oh,
was
I
it.
thought,
Condemning
no,
that,
I
or
thought
what
they
is
were
it?
having it on the 15th.
Huh?
No, they didn't want to have it on the 15th. They objected to it. The rest
That's
of the
right.
country had
That's what I'm trying to
the
understand.
student rally on the 15th, and they objected because they said because it is on the same day of Guatemala independence, it might not be sending the right message. It might seem as if we're celebrating their independence, and the fact that
Oh, I see. I see. I didn't understand it that way.
many of their children
Now, let
come
me
over
show
and
you.
get educated there in Benke.
Let me give you
Okay.
an example of what happened just now
I
for the
didn't
benefit
understand
of
it that
our
way.
listeners and us. When you misunderstand a question and you begin to give your opinion, and then you're found out differently, it's not good, because then you say, well, wait, you were just looking to try to justify something that was not even existing. You know why I stopped to ask you, what is it happening?
Mhm.
I think we're gone too far in saying things that were not true, because the teachers were the ones who were objecting to having the celebration on the 15th because it would be sending the wrong message.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
the reality of the human dimension of politics, like religion, they are very symbolic. So therefore, I may not agree, but we have to understand why people do things before we can agree or disagree. They were doing it for the symbolic reason that to have events on that day will be seen as if though they are in fact giving support to the enemy. That's what
That
the
that
teachers
that
were
was
saying.
Okay.
that was my point. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
that they
all.
should. I don't
Okay.
think they should
Okay.
be fired for that. I
Oh,
That's right.
no,
certainly
no,
don't.
no. I backed up. I thought
That's why
they
when you
want.
went at the teachers like that, I was wondering, but
No, I
why
thought the
are you
teachers. I
giving a
thought the
trial,
teachers. I
found them
thought the,
guilty, and sentencing them when in fact the charge was not even brought to the court? You brought the wrong charge, Mr. Morris.
yeah, yeah.
But
No, no.
Anyway,
I
but
thought he said. He asked me if I was familiar with it, and I thought that what I had heard was that the teachers were supporting
no.
Guatemala.
Lala,
Well,
And
he didn't
here's the
say
thing
that.
because
yeah,
the Minister of Education, Honorable Francis Fonseca, took the point that you did because he said there would be repercussions and
yeah.
they would have to
That,
pay for it.
that's what
Uh,
I heard. That's what I heard. That's what
so,
I.
but you didn't understand that the teachers were on the other side of the issue. See,
No, no, no. I heard
right,
what
right.
Fonseca was talking about, and the government had made some decisions to kind of address the
Sanction them.
teachers.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
that's. So I
Which
was thinking they were supporting. Okay.
I really believe that we should not have any kind of activities on the 15th. That's only one day in September, and in fact, from the 10th until maybe they should have had the rallies on the 10th like they used to. Get a picnic and leave like cake and lemonade like they used to.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but what they did then, in fact, if we had the children's march on the 10th like it used to, the 10th would still have some gusto to it. Instead of just
That's
a
right.
couple of politicians in a red and white, they walk on the street behind one big truck. I don't see that as symbolic at all. I think we need to look more into that and bring back the children's celebration on the 10th. Maybe that might be the way of because they ought to be learning the history lesson about the Battle of St. George's Key.
yeah. I agree.
We ought to be more inclined to get it in. You know, every country needs heroes. Every country needs stories of courage. That, but it's good for the self-esteem of the people, and this might be why we Belizeans don't have
Well,
good
Mr. Chairman,
self-esteem.
I agree that there may be some mythical narrative about the 10th of September, but
Yes.
that should not cause us to
Yes.
obliterate it.
Yeah.
Look at David Crockett. David Crockett is a myth,
Yeah, yeah,
but the Americans revere it.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit.
Well, Paul Revere.
and,
Who
and
knows
many,
what Paul
many,
Revere
many,
did?
many, many stuff
Well,
about
Paul
George
Revere
Washington
he was.
is mythology.
Exactly.
But David Crockett was a myth.
But
Yeah.
you need that. You need
Yeah.
it.
That's right. I
I
agree.
mean, from ancient Greek, they had mythology
Of
where they
course,
used
that's why I'm saying
symbols.
that even though certain aspect of it is reported with man with coconut boys kick the fight against on guns,
Yeah.
those are those were myths. But
Yeah.
to me, that
But
should
you
never
don't pull that
cause
out
us
of
to
it, and
undermine
you,
the tent. No, but we should not make
yeah.
the victim and believe that we stood up with courage and we fought against.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But
So
I hope that we can do something to revive the 10th of September. I think it's a tale of courage. In fact, I notwithstanding that everybody holla about we got too many holidays already, I think the 1st of June ought to be a holiday also, because that was a big decision that was made whether we fight or flight. And we decided to stand and fight. That is a tale of courage. We
that's right.
need these tales of courage. Our people already have low self esteem. That's why we can't even believe that our athletes can go out and compete. They themselves don't believe it because we don't enforce in them that self esteem, that confidence that is necessary to become a champion. When we see people like Marion Jones and some of the other star athletes that go abroad and make it big. The recently guy is a guy from the Kansas City Chiefs, Nunes, Raheem Nunes, I believe, make it big in the NFL. We see these things, but we almost that one aberration. We don't believe that it's possible really, and until we do, we're gonna be dismal at everything we try internationally.
Mr. Chairman,
And
allow me to reconcile the two events that we spent some time on. Go back to the SARS too. The men and women of this country who actually risked their life, whether provocative, inflammatory or not, to assert their rights to ownership over their land. We may have differences whether it's right or wrong, but what they were doing is exactly what the teachers were doing. So therefore, I believe
I
that
don't think so.
the men and women who went out to that SARS too,
I don't
even
think
though
so.
so on,
I,
let me finish. Even though we may differ with the method,
no, I
we
think it's
support.
pointless. That's not the method I differ with.
No,
I
no,
don't
but
differ with the
but you
method.
have to allow me to finish.
You go ahead, man.
I am saying to you that the men and women who went out to the SARS too to do what they did, I will never belittle the seriousness of their patriotism and their nationalism. I would caution them in their own interest. The teachers that refuse to do what would have given the message as if though we are celebrating are our heroes. We could differ otherwise, but both of them were
But
asserting their right and sovereignty over this country. So let's
I
Yeah.
revere them and cheer them.
one
They're all heroes. Let's move on.
I
Yes.
no no
That's how I
no
see them.
you
Uh,
that can't be
one
the final
concern.
word on that. That's not the final word
But they
on
are
that
Well,
heroes.
because
If
let
I
me
give
give
my
my
no,
word.
that's
word,
Then
not
you could
true.
give. Let me
That's
give
not
my
true.
word. Then you could give your final word, Mr. Chairman. I do believe, and I do have concern that both of you have expressed about something happening in
What's the name of that old fellow? Um, for the Democrats, who the guy with the speaker, the host or something, where he
the
freeze up
Democrats
on it.
are the Republicans.
Yeah, I don't know who, but the guy we always freeze up a couple of times. He freeze up, and he wasn't able to finish. And this is where they go on with Greg might have to.
So you mean
Um,
Kevin McCarthy?
Kevin McCarthy, yeah. But I believe that the exercise of going to the side student is pointless. I believe that hard line that we have taken up and insist on sticking to, where not an inch of grass, not a drop of water, that was all good and well for one time. But should the ICJ come back now, and I said, did you know that when they did the survey from Gracias a los Dios to Garbage Fall, that they did it with the kind of manual stuff. But when GPS came in with the more accurate thing, there's supposed to be a sliver of land right there that the GPS didn't quite take it in, and that sliver of land might in fact be for Guatemala. Now, if we stick to this, not a blade of grass, not a grain of sand, and the ICJ come back and say, you know what, all I believe is a phone, but this sliver of land here, and would you fight against that and say, no, not one grain? Can we be so adamant and stiff-lipped to not even, for the sake of peace, be a little compromising?
I would say this, that the blade of grass and the grain of sand and whatnot, that's hyperbolic. That's a figure of speech. No. What is it that believes
Some people take that seriously, though, Joe. And
No.
Greg,
What I'm saying is
ask Greg
hyperbolic.
when he comes back if he does.
No, it's hyperbolic in the sense that if we have to give them one leaf with a guinea, literally, but it's not literally. I understand what they mean. It's hyperbole. No. I would say this, that the only thing that we have to do, which we should have done already, and definitely I expect it to come out of the ICJ, is really to define our territorial waters, and an international law, the sea. And I hope that when that decision is handing down, the people of this country understand that it's not that we have lost anything. It's just that we haven't done what we should have done before.
Didn't we attempt it? Yeah, didn't we attempt it then?
Huh?
Didn't we attempt that with the Maritime Areas Act?
That's right, exactly. We attempted it at the Maritime Areas Act when we delimited at the Ranguana entrance, because we had to go down the median, where if Honduras and we took the 22 miles or whatever it is, it would have blocked in Guatemala. So when we did the maritime areas, remember, the president was prepared to support Belize independence and right.
He did.
And the PUP and the UDP came together.
He was not only prepared, he did it.
Well, no, but just make a follow up on it, please. I can tell you what had happened. And I know here for Knock Olson, Esquivel was the prime minister. Dean Barrow was his vice president, the deputy. He was at the meeting. Esquivel agreed. Barrow agreed. George Price agreed that we can carry out the Maritime Areas Act because the president was prepared to support Belize.
But he did. What? For me, say to you that he did. Why do you object to that?
Against it and form a new party and break away.
Right. The neighbor, NABR.
When in fact the Maritime Areas Act was to give effect to the international law of the sea, and that would have given the president the opportunity to support why we must bring it to an end, because Guatemala would have had a right to outlet.
Joe, do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
The president did do that. Did do what he said. He was removed shortly after that. But
that's why he
did
do it, because he couldn't remove him.
Well, no, can't remove him if I don't do it. If I went to the, do you know that it went to the Guatemalan Supreme Court? Did you know that? And they confirmed that he had every right to do it. He had the authority to do it.
Yeah, they had to go to the Congress. He alone could not. The president could not have done it alone. But he himself, of course, gave recognition. He did it. But that was not enough to give it legality.
But
he had to go to the Congress to amend the Constitution.
But when it went to the court,
amend the Constitution, Mr. Chairman.
When it went to they have to amend the Constitution.
Right.
Yes.
But when it went to the Supreme Court and they tried, the question was, did he have the right to do it? That just like the definitive agreement.
The president himself did not have. He had the executive prerogative to support it, but he had an obligation to carry it through. But he did not get the support, and they move on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
did that come out in the court case and the Supreme Court case? Because I did some research on that.
No research. The president.
Joe, don't be presumptuous. How do you not need some research?
Man, I'm being factual. I'm saying to you that the president.
You're saying you don't need any research. Why? Because you're saying it.
The president of Guatemala cannot amend the Constitution of Guatemala. He can't.
The
After the Prime Minister
Constitution was
released
not
the amended
amended,
Constitution.
Joe.
Ah,
But I can tell
But it would have required to get full recognition. It
That's
would
right.
have required amendment of the
That's right.
Constitution.
He had to amend the Constitution. He agreed. He supported it. And he was following it up. He had the executive authority to agree. But he cannot amend the Constitution. He had to go to get the Congress to amend it. But then they move on. So he had good intentions. That's true. And he agreed. But he couldn't amend the Constitution.
Well, we hope we'll get one now that will have the good intention and will follow through to get the Constitution of Guatemala amended so that the claim will be dropped and that Belize and Guatemala could live peaceably.
Gregory, if the court came back and said, well, we're going we let's settle this thing, but we're going to have to give Guatemala one little piece of land, would you consider
Well,
it?
then we don't have a choice, do we? Because the majority is going to be against us. The world opinion is going to be against us. But I'm hoping that and that's one of the fear I've always had about these type of courts, because to me they are compromise courts. They're not based. They're not going to be fully based on facts and rights. They're based
But
on
then
politics.
I can't believe that. I mean,
Well, that you suggesting it. I'm telling you how I view these type of courts as a compromise type of courts that try to find a political solution rather than a
that
legal
pleases
solution.
everybody.
Yes, yes.
You really think that all those 15 judges would be there with that kind of a motive in mind to just let's see how we can appease this as opposed to dispensing justice? They're going by the law.
I believe that these type of courts are, as I said, and I repeat it for the
When
third
you said
time.
these type of courts, because there's only one court like that.
Well,
Exactly, only one.
to change the word these to this, then if
This court, you're saying that
this
court is a compromise court.
Yes.
But
yes.
you said that based on what? What kind of evidence?
Based on how they always rule. Based on how they always rule.
I don't know.
It's always trying to find a political solution rather than
I don't think so.
Please, Mr. Chairman, forgive me. I beg you. Do not make statements on these stations unless we have the facts. The courts, you have two of them. The one for criminal and the one for
the justice.
Do you know of all the decisions that they made when it comes to boundary cases?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me now how you arrive that that's the way they behave.
Yeah, you would have to have.
I have to go and look at it, but that's the opinion I came to after looking at some of the other rulings they made.
All right, name me one of them. Just name me one of them that you believe that they compromise countries and make them give up land. Name me one of them, just one of the many they did. Name me one.
I can't think of it right now, but I know there's a case.
No, but you won't be able to
Guyana.
think of one because there is none.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
There was one with our country in Africa, I believe, but
there is.
But it wasn't.
Every one of the decisions that was
you're giving me homework. You're giving me homework, and I'm going to do it.
Differences, no doubt, by the country that lost. There is and was differences.
Of course,
whoever loses will always not be happy.
Exactly.
So that's how that works. But to say that it wasn't that the sentence was not just and it was based on a compromise, I think kind of unfair, because what we're talking about was 15 learned individuals from countries that
but the countries, these people are politicians. These people are appointed by their government to serve on these courts.
No, Greg.
That's my problem I have, because we are prejudging these people, and now we are talking about because they're appointed, but that's not true. These people, to me, have known to be reputable, competent people.
Oh, I'm not saying you're not reputable. That's not to come to compromise. To come to compromise doesn't mean you're not reputable. It doesn't mean that you're not going to follow.
Well, if you're going to compromise
and judges to say that they acted contrary
to law,
to the dignity of the office of the international law.
I don't think that they could.
You're reading way too much into it.
No, but
and
it,
you're
it has
reading too
nothing to
much.
do
You
with
can't
you're
even
making
say
compromise.
these
something that
judges
there's no evidence to
sanctified.
support.
You're giving these judges a kind of sanctification that
Nah,
they're only there
But
to
but
serve the cause of justice. And I'm saying no. I'm
but
saying these judges are there to serve their nation's national interests at the highest level.
but they have no kind of interest in this. They
Of course
between
they do.
what are
exactly.
they going to do with Belize and Guatemala,
Of course
except
Exactly.
they
for the
do.
U.S. and the U.S. is not on the court.
The US is not on the court at this
No, they're
moment.
not. They're not. There's no judge from the U.S. on there.
Yeah,
No judge
and I
from
don't think
Israel.
I don't
No
think
judge
the
from Guatemala.
yeah, I don't think the US would at this point, if they were on the court, necessarily rule against Belize.
Well, I don't know. They're the one I wouldn't trust
The
Yeah.
because
court
if
has ruled
anybody got
against the
interest,
United
that
States.
you
The
you
court
ever
ruled
heard
against the
that?
United States.
Huh?
The court ruled against the United States.
Oh, of course,
The only
of course.
problem with it that the United States is
yeah,
so damn big that they
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
to carry
No,
it out.
the United States does not accept the ruling of the court of
Oh,
right
that's
now.
different. That's
The-
different. But it's not that the court didn't rule. The
Oh,
court ruled.
yeah, it has ruled against the United
But that
States,
the
and I think
US,
it's
because of
with
its power.
Venezuela or some or
Yeah, but you don't
Honduras or
blame the
one
judge.
country.
You can't blame the judges for that. That
I
the
think it's
US.
with Honduras or some country. They
I
need
think
to.
you need for retract that one and look at
Yeah,
it
I do not think
closer
it's fair to
I
keep
don't think
before
passing
so.
you.
I don't
judgment
think
and
so.
judging
I've
unless
always
we have
believed.
evidence.
I've always believed this court, from my opinion and from what I've
Well,
gathered.
because
is-
you've always believed it doesn't mean it's true.
no. From
Maybe it's time
information.
that you review that, revise that point, and look at it. Because I do not think that you are correct. I do not
Okay,
think it is a
I'm
compromise
gonna
court.
do some homework, and I'm gonna come back next week. You
That'll be
ask me
good.
that question again, and I'm gonna give you why I base my opinion that I believe this, that the ICJ, International Court of Justice, is a compromise court, and that why it represents more political sort of solutions to issues than it leans on justice. And it doesn't mean that justice is sometimes not dispensed in that manner, because it means that if you could avoid conflict and you could take a little from this guy and take a little from that guy, and they could both feel be that something was given to them, it could prevent international conflict and stuff, and does in some way serve the purpose of justice and human beings and human well-beings. So that was not my argument.
Let
Mr.
me.
Marisa, I would support you on this one point. All humans are imperfect. And I'm not saying that anybody undertake for infallibility, but they undertake in good faith. Do you know an international renowned
That was
lawyer
not
by
what
the
I
name
was
of...
saying. I was not
Do
impugning
you know an
the
internationally renowned lawyer by Eddie Lang?
yes, I worked with him.
No, you know him well, right?
Yes.
He's a personal friend of mine. He married to my cousin, by the way. No, Eddie Lang was more advocating on the UDP side, like Compton Fairweather.
Mhm.
But they were very close friends of mine, very close. Me and Anil were extremely close.
Yeah.
But he, to me, was a brilliant guy.
Yes.
He was very good in international law.
Yes.
And we had many conversations. In fact, Eddie Lang was supportive of this government in helping it
Yes.
with the same issues.
Yeah. And
Eddie Lang was one
I
of
think
them
he
who
did
came
some of the
out.
work on the original constitution of Belize.
That's right. No. Read some of his writings. Read some of his writings he did. And I gave something in his favor after he died in a book. And you will hear about the court, which he knows a lot about. The point I want to make is simple this. I will not sit here and tell you that there was never a deviant like Merely Clarence Thomas and that Supreme Court right now. There may have been. I'm not suggesting that there isn't. But to me, generally speaking, given the years of the International Court of Justice, among the treaties, they were never known to be miscreants and were to be bribed and whatnot. They may not. I'm not saying there were never cases. I'm not saying that there were never cases. There are.
Yeah.
Maybe have been, but it's not the natural trend of the International Court of Justice. That is not so.
No,
I
think you're totally misunderstanding my point when I say that it's a compromise code. What I'm saying is they try to find political solutions to international dispute. And if they could, like the chairman was suggesting, could they decide to say, okay, let's split the Sarstoon Island in half, and you take this half and we give Belize the other half. I'm saying I agree that that is a possibility from out of this court. And if that was to happen, that is nothing but a compromise. That's what I'm
Do
saying.
you?
It
Do
is
No,
you?
no,
not,
no. The
it
court
is
cannot
not
do that.
based. It is not
That can only
based.
be done at no. That can only be done at case management, not at the court. At case management, you can compromise and you don't have to go to the court. But the court cannot bring two persons before the court
Yeah. Once you
and
get
say,
there, the
listen,
compromise period is over.
you
Yeah.
can't compromise. How you want to compromise one person, right? The court can
Um.
Well,
decide on
well, how
facts
could they?
and
How could
law.
they? How could they decide to split the Sarstoon Island? What legal basis is there that Guatemala would own half of the island?
Greg.
the
Greg.
Sarstoon?
Greg. Do
Cannot
you
own half of it
remember?
unless there is evidence to
Hold on.
support
Hold
it.
on. Hold on. Hold on. Do you remember a story in the Bible about this baby where there was a dispute between two
Yes,
women?
yes.
And who was it?
The
Solomon, I
king,
believe.
King Solomon. Yes.
Solomon decided, well, you know what? Let's fix this. Let's compromise.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut this baby in two, and you're gonna get half, and he gonna get half. Remember that story? Interesting
Yes,
story.
yes.
Interesting story.
And he quickly found out who the true mother of that child was, right?
Well, more than that, you find out that neither of the women wanted the child to be dead. So
No,
maybe
only
if
one
neither
didn't
of
want the
us,
child to be dead. One said, yes, let's do it.
okay,
The woman that was not really the mother was up to have a half dead baby. The true mother said, no, give it to this woman rather than kill the child.
I see. With all your heathenism, you know a bit about the Bible. All right, but I'm just saying it's kind of an interesting analogy, and it comes kind of close to what we're saying. But at some point, I think that not a blade of grass, not a grain of sand. And yes, Joe is saying it's just hyperbole, and that it wasn't really, it's not literal. But there are people like
Is that
yourself.
what Joe believed? My internet went out because I couldn't handle that. I hope Joe didn't say that was just hyperbole.
Of course, it is hyperbolic. Would not
Of
you
course,
give tell me something?
Mhm.
Would not you give a leaf to Guatemala? That's a leaf from a tree. Would not you? So when you say that a blade of grass, it's hyperbole, it's a figure
Yeah,
of speech.
but I mean
That's
the
what it
true
means.
meaning of it. It means that I wouldn't give them any of my territory.
That's right. That's
it's
what
the-
it means.
Yeah.
But you
know,
think in
literal-
liter,
you see, the figure of speech which Barrow was fond of is hyperbole. You are
Yeah.
getting over a point
No.
to them by using a blade of grass. So
I know, but I'm
literally
saying,
speaking, would not you give them a blade of grass?
yeah, I was
Yeah,
joking
But
when I
the
said,
symbolic meaning of it, is that you are not going to give them any land that
Yeah.
belongs to us.
yeah,
but
yeah.
Gregory, what you missed also that, and I think you might know of this, that when they were doing the survey between Gracias a los Dios and Garbas Fall, they used the old style of surveying,
Surveying,
where they
yes.
look through and thing and see the point of Piana. But when GPS came on board,
Uh-huh.
it was found out that there's a sliver of land there that
Mhm.
that did not, it was not the true mark.
Well,
Would you
maybe that's the
compromise?
if that's on Guatemala's side there, then maybe that they take that, but I don't know. I hope that Belize doesn't lose any of its 8,867 square miles. That's if there's something else left over that Guatemala have, let them keep it.
The funny thing is that we've lost a lot of it to scurrilous process of political things. You know, many I'm many gone with how much of that. So the funny thing, I don't know that we have 8,000 again. We got must be about 1,000 left. But at the end of the day, I think for the sake of peace, and not only that, able to capitalize on that big market sitting right next to us, those people who will buy whatever we can produce. and maybe sell us things cheaper than we can get from anywhere else. But because of the fact that we have this hostility between us, we don't even want to look at one another. We don't, and I'm saying,
But that's not true, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of trade that goes on between Belize and
yes,
Guatemala.
yes, yes,
And
but
there's a
it,
lot
it,
of
That's right.
people,
Very
there's a
true.
lot of people connection that happens between
yeah,
Belize
but
and
but it,
Guatemala.
it is not done.
It's the oligarch that claims our
But they're the
country,
ones that runs things.
that foster, that's correct, that foster the hostility,
Yeah.
and every now and then rev up their army for their political consumption. So the issue is that Belize and Guatemala could enjoy good relationship, but we need to settle the claim, as you said, and hopefully now that we're in the International Court of Justice, they will bring about the solution. I think it's next year that they're supposed to turn
Well,
in.
hopefully, I think it
Yeah,
should. I think COVID maybe put a stall on it, but still,
probably so.
tell me something, because this whole thing started when Guatemala. The claim is that they inherited the property beliefs from Spain.
That's correct.
Has anybody ever thought about maybe approaching Spain? Because Guatemala got its independence, I believe, was 1823, something like that.
1821, I think.
Something in that area. Now, did anybody ever say to Spain, look, Spain, if you could sell this, because if you tell them we never left that
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
then maybe it's up to you.
Yeah.
And in fact, the way Spain got it to begin with was by the audacious move of a pope who decided he would split the earth and give half to Spain and half to Portugal.
Right.
So
Yeah.
funny
Well,
thing,
I think that's an interesting point that Spain, through all the years, through all the claim, has
has
remained
nothing to
quiet.
say.
They
Yeah.
have remained quiet, and I think that a statement from them, while it would not solve the issue,
Would help.
It could help if they were to say, hey, this was never yours. We lost in the Battle of St. George's Key, and
Right.
we abandoned it, and the people of Belize are entitled to their territory as it exists.
So
So,
could that,
Chairman, my advice to you all: leave that to them lawyers where they get them big money for God at Spain and tell them come give evidence before the court. You know why?
I
I'm not
don't.
gonna tell you why.
Yeah, you
I'm
have
not
to
gonna
tell me
tell
why.
you. Spain, remember, was repelled by the British.
Uh-huh.
So Spain can always say that, in fact, we may own the place. What Spain that I have to go to the court and say that Belize never did fall under the province of Guatemala, but under Mexico.
Mhm.
But then you open another can of worms.
No. It's not opening
Yeah.
a can of worms. That's exactly what.
No, that's
what
the truth.
about-
That's the truth. That's the truth.
But what's
That's a
wrong
fact.
with
That's what Mr. Chairman?
what's
You know
wrong with
what
that
the
diplomatic
strongest-
approach?
You know what the strongest piece of argument that Belize has before that court? The strongest, and all the lawyers have admitted that, is the 1859 treaty.
Mhm.
All right, but tell me something. Why? What would that? We have good relations with Spain. What would be wrong with us trying a diplomatic move and sending these lawyers that you're talking about to Spain? Find out where they stand on this. What are the possibilities? How can
but-
we woo them? That's something what a man like Josh Price would do.
But Mr. Chairman, I think that they beyond for we pay skill. We could left that today.
You would tell me that I can't talk about that, I can't mention it, and that you just dismiss that as foolishness?
No, I don't
Or
want to discuss it.
too high for us to discuss?
No, what I will say to you is this. I believe that we all gone through the booklet that was prepared by the government at the time with all the information we could have gathered to show why Belize has a right to its territory. And that was something Assad Schuman was a part of the team, and I think they did a wonderful job at it. Now, we have put it now to the International Court of Justice. I would like us now to maybe look, if we want to, is like the 1859 treaty, which have all the evidence. There are three things that will hold strong for us. One, possession. And again, coming back to the Battle of St. George's Key, one of the significance of that battle, that you will support the possession right. It will.
Go
That's
ahead,
what
two.
will
What's,
go
what's
before
two?
the court.
Go ahead, that's one. Two.
No, the next one is the 1859 treaty,
Mhm.
and that will play a great part.
Yeah.
The third one is that we had support that all the countries of the world except Guatemala supported our sovereignty.
And the U.S.
No,
US
US
came on
around.
eventually.
US came
They
around.
came along eventually.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, under Carter.
But when we
Yes.
went, yes, because when
Carter
we
did.
went,
It was under
when we
Carter
went
we
to the
got the
UN,
support from the US.
but
Yes.
I'm trying to figure what your objection is. But what's the genesis of the claim?
The
They
genesis
said
of
that
this
the
claim.
British failed to follow through with paying them some money and build a
Build a
cart
card
road.
word.
Yes.
We now have a road from the port all the way to Guatemala.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we could say, well,
And I'm
the road
glad
is
they
there.
didn't build that cart road, because now Belize wouldn't have been Belize. You'd have had millions of Guatemalan that would have taken that cart road to follow through instead of going through the bushes that prohibited them.
Well, yeah.
All right, let me
maybe.
put another question here then, since we want to get into it. If you sign a treaty, the British, with Guatemala, you will now concede the territory of Belize, the boundaries are donated to the British. The British in return will build the cart road to the port. To the port. Now, if I were to say to you as a layman now, not a lawyer, from the fact that there was a treaty, you did recognize that we may want this place. Like Guatemala may want it. Otherwise, why you sign the treaty? Why did you say that you're going to concede something which you never have?
Yeah.
Those are the technicalities which Guatemala
I don't know.
will raise.
I don't know. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. Why would you concede something? Well, the fact that you concede and make you think that you had it, you can't have it if you can't concede it without thinking that you have it. So for that, I don't think that's a strong argument there at all.
It is a strong argument, but you know what will counter it? You know what will counter it? The Guatemalans said that they had rebuked the treaty, they repudiated it under international law. That portion of the treaty that dealt with the boundary could
But
never have been repudiated.
that was almost 75 years after, right?
Not only that part of a treaty can never be reputed.
Do our lawyers
can, but you cannot repudiate that.
Do our lawyers know that? Because so are you convinced then that we are ably represented and have a good chance at this court?
I am convinced from all that I have done as a layman and for experts that I spoke with, Belize has a very... Why do you think I supported going to the ICJ? I thought we had a very strong case. I was convinced we had a strong case.
I believe Belize have the strongest of case. I don't think Guatemala has any claim, any legitimate claim to the country of Belize. From whether you look at it from occupation, whether you look at it from how it was granted to them under their understanding of it, succession from Spain, or whether you look at it from the point that Belize is an independent country that they at some point recognized, even though it wasn't fully developed because of the removal of the president.
Let me get a little bit of history then, and facts, historical facts that could go before that court. You realize that Guatemala went ahead with the referendum and won the referendum to go to the ICJ. Remember that?
Yes.
Now, when the referendum came to Belize, the PUP that was supportive of going to the ICJ, they backfire, except that we split. The party was split.
Yes.
Man like myself, Said, many of us, Lisa Shu, another way, did not go along with the PUP. Johnny Change, the top prime minister who was the leader, was in fact going. Then they came down with pressure upon the caucus in the south came and pressure him changed. Now you may
flip Flip
You know
flop.
what? You know what the Guatemalans may want? The Guatemalans were hoping that we voted no.
I think so. So you wouldn't go.
That's right.
I
They
think
were
so.
hoping that we lost it, because if we had lost it, you know, I mean, strengthen Guatemala hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Look,
I think
of
probably
course.
so.
You may
So
say,
looking
look,
back,
Yeah, I didn't have a
you see the
problem.
mistake that we could have made simply because of what? Simply because of some maneuvering in our political party, not for the good of the country, but just for
right.
political power.
Mileage.
That's
Indeed.
right. That's serious, man.
Indeed. I
You know what
I
come to this
But
country if we had said so?
but I think I have faults with the way we went into the referendum and how the prime minister believes change our referendum laws so that it became a lower threshold than what the standard referendum law was. I also remember he did some stuff in the court that allowed this to happen. So I don't remember exactly what it is.
oh, I don't know. You might be nitpicking and looking for reasons to object.
No, because I think that the people of Belize was not dealt with fairly. And I always
in what way?
believe
You really don't think come another Trump theory, conspiracy theory? You think
no.
there was some shady thing there and it
Oh,
wasn't a
there was
fair?
some shady thing. There was some shady thing.
But
He
No,
was
no, Mr.
pushing. He was
Morrison.
pushing. He was pushing. Dean Barrow was pushing for this, and
But
he
yeah, but he was pushing for it. But
by Yellow Crook, he got it right.
Mr.
but yes,
Morrison.
so he got it. He was
I
pushing
agree
for it and he got it.
with Mr. Jose that if we'd have had a weaker hand if we had voted no. I think that I was for no, but I was for no under the proper principles of our government doing what was right. And for one thing, I wanted them to also include the diaspora as part of that recognizing. And whatever, if they had done all that, whatever decision they make, even the decision they make now when they excluded a significant part of the voice of Belizeans, I have come to accept it. And we're there. And now we just have to hope that these compromised judges will,
Yeah,
in
but
fact,
then I think I'm glad you accept that part. Put that past behind it. But sometimes do not let errors made about the past and let them go by. I would say this. The government at the day never did amend no referendum act that caused the results to gone the way gone. But the
of
referendum
course, the
act
government changed the referendum act from 75% to a lesser percentage.
I
don't
think that
remember
was done when Oceana was doing offshore drilling
yeah, because you see what I want to say
referendum.
something.
I don't think that was with the.
If I may
Yeah.
finish the thought, you know, maybe you understand what I say. I don't think, if you believe that the government at the day, the UDP, Dean Barrow, changed the benchmark figure, the threshold figure, so that he was able to get across. That's what you believe.
Yes.
All right. What percentage would you have wanted?
Well,
How
I'm
much
not.
would you have
No,
wanted?
I'm not. I'm saying he maneuvered the system
No, but
to
tell me
make
how he
that
did,
happen.
man. Yeah, but they
Previously, it was
generalize, Mr.
75% previously it was 75%, and I think they changed it to 55% or 60%.
No,
to
it was
make-
not 55 for sure. Definitely not. I'd ask you the question as a citizen of Belize, supporting with democracy. What percentage in a referendum would you have wanted to carry a referendum? Tell me what you would have wanted.
I would think 60% of a plurality of the voters would represent us.
Well, check it, and you will see that the referendum gave more than 60%. The point I wanted to make to you, Mr. Morrison.
No, it wasn't more than 60% that the referendum passed with. No, it was
did.
not.
All right, let's leave that alone for right
Well,
now.
it can't be less than 50.
Yeah, no, it was more than 50. It was more than 50, but it wasn't 60%.
All right, we want to verify that. We want to verify.
Okay.
You believe that 60 would have been okay, but what the figure you gave me? That next time I'll bring the right figure.
No, I said I believe like 60% is a good is a good mark. I was not complaining that I was just saying how the government maneuver it. I'm not saying that a referendum needs 75%. I'm saying I'm making a technical argument how the government manipulated the system so that this policy that they wanted to enact became law. That's what I was arguing, how the government did it. I'm not arguing that the referendum should be 60% or 75%. I'm saying what they did, how they did not see the support to the level that they were, that was under the constitution of what a referendum act was. So they changed it to make it a lesser threshold so that this law they wanted to enact gets passed. That was my argument.
Let me tell you something about the referendum law. Quickly. You know something? When you vote for a party for form of government, sometimes you get a party in government where you've not got 51%.
Of course.
But if you have a referendum that says majority, 50 plus 1, now, where else you're going to make decisions in a country where you will move from a simple majority? Where else?
I don't think that's what that I don't think that's what that was about, you know. That was the threshold was for the amount of people, that the percentage of voters that need to come out and vote for the referendum to be valid. Isn't that what it was really?
No, he did have a threshold that no matter how many came out, if 50% come out and the threshold was 60, then you have to be 60% at that 50.
Of that 50, okay.
Yeah.
And that was moved from 75. Yeah,
that was moved from 75.
So then that's not consensus to look for then, obviously. Because the consensus would require just a larger percentage saying yes than no?
Right.
Which could be a majority, simple majority.
Should be a majority, yeah.
Simple majority.
Yeah.
I must say this, that evidently I was not with the UDP, I was with the PUP, but I didn't go party then. I put it above party politics. I believe it was about the country, Belize.
And you're still paying for it.
And I gone along, of course, but that no matter.
Oh, yeah. Good.
It was not that I love Caesar less, but that I love Belize more.
There it is. All right.
I will leave it at that.
All right. Yeah, man. But
Caesar is dead.
The referendum act needs to be cleared up. It's not a good act, but I will leave it for now.
Yeah, but we have to look at that. But let us do some research on the referendum and find out what it is, what it was changed, why it was changed, and all of that, and we could discuss that at another time. But this live issue, this issue of the guys, and we need to pick up more on it as we get closer to our date with the court. We also have to look at the reform committee, the commission that's looking at reforming it. We're going to have to keep our eye on that and make sure that nothing shady no go on there, because they're not above Lee hanky panky, and we all know that. I don't know what they want to put in there. Apparently they've given up for the time being on the 11th Amendment. I believe they might want to bring it back. I'm curious tomorrow, though, Joe, to hear what the leader of the opposition is gonna say. What is gonna be his narrative?
Well, I think the context will remain the same. The Prime Minister will come and use some hyperbole.
He'll paint a rosy picture.
Oh yeah, he will use his hyperbole. That's the day when the leader of the government really grandstand, and if he did 1% at this year and said 100, so we expect that. No, we will have to be able to discern how much of that is true and not. Then the leader of the opposition will go all out to find fault. We have to be able to discern what is the truth in it and what are facts in it. Unfortunately, in a democracy, which Socrates had the concern about, if that the voters are not sophisticated enough to do that, then once you remove the hardcore partisan supporters, a lot of people can be deceived on this day. The ones who are not partisan can be deceived.
So you think the ones who are not partisan,
I think the ones
are themselves not right?
I think the ones that get deceived are the ones that are partisan.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because the way you said it, it makes it sound like you're thinking that the ones that are not partisan are the ones that are less informed or less bright. You know, I don't know. The ones that are partisan will go not based upon common sense or right or wrong. They go upon based upon follow the leader. The
Yeah.
leader says go that way.
They then go wear a blue shirt like Jose. I don't know why I have on a blue shirt today. I should have put on my red shirt.
So yeah,
I am colorblind when it comes to party politics. But I think that tomorrow is a day that we should give some serious consideration and reflection on. And I would say this again, Mr. Chairman, that I think I mentioned it to you, that there is a truism that is gaining universal acceptance throughout the world, especially in government. You put a bad person into a good system, it won't work. But you put a good person into a bad system, it works. Our constitution, which we are looking to review, is not bad. It's just that we put some bad people in to run it. Find some good people. And we don't need to touch the constitution right now.
That's my opinion. That's exactly what I believe. That there are some fixes that needs to be done, and it's only because they meddled with it and put those bad things in it from what we had originally drafted. Yes, there are some deficiencies in it that we could adjust and make, in the overall structure of it, that we could fix. But my particular concern is that I see a constitution as a flimsy document. Excuse my word. I mean, I don't want a thick book of 165 and 200, 300 pages for a constitution. I want something that's 8-10 pages for a constitution, right? And then you write the supporting laws. The constitution is supposed to be broad enough so that you could envelope all those things of your rights and right to school, go to school, right to healthcare. But I don't want to see that in the Constitution, that you have a right to medical care. I mean, what is that? Just give me my right as a human being and my right to civil compassion from the authorities, and then from that you could develop all the other laws and statutory instruments that will be required to make sure that I have the opportunity for a good education if that's what I desire, that I have the right to proper health care if I so contribute to it, and do what's necessary to make sure that that system is supported. That's how I feel about constitutions and such.
are you a Republican?
No, but I'm conservative.
I see. All right. What I like that I'm hearing is that they're recommending that the Constitution be taught in the schools. Common sense. Why has that not been happening all along? Education is more important. And again, if after a few years, after we have learned the Constitution and enough people know about it, not the 2% or 1% that now who has read the Constitution, most of them being lawyers. I mean, the average Joe Blow on the street, I would like to see them put it into cartoon form that fools can understand what the basic principles are that they are talking about, the basic rights that they are confirming and upholding. And as Dickie has said, not rights that are being given, but rights that are being affirmed. They're yours. They're guaranteed.
Yeah. Why don't they teach us? Why don't they teach Constitution in schools? It's because people that doesn't have knowledge can't challenge the government. So it's as simple as that. It's self-serving to the government to keep the people as ignorant as possible.
And what are the people going to do about that?
Well, that's where we need to find different type of social organization that will activate the people to get them involved in their governance and in how our country is managed and administered, and find ways to hold these leaders accountable. And I mean leaders across the board, political leaders, minister leaders, business leaders. They're all at this point unchecked in our Belizean society.
it reminds me of a point that you and I were arguing over the other day. And when I say arguing, I mean
Yeah.
fighting or nothing. But we were discussing, and he was suggesting that the Constitution needs to be enforced. There needs to be enforcement of violations in there. And my point was to him was that I think adherence is even more important. So again, when it get to the point where we would want for the government to do what is in the best interest of the people, but the people themselves, and this goes back to what Joe himself has often said, only the people can save the people.
Mhm.
People will have to become involved. Make yourself learn what is going on, how we are being governed. Teach your children, talk to your children. Don't just let raise them, bring them up and say, well, again, they're like, I got a dog, I got water, I keep on dry. I think that's enough. I don't think that's enough for a child. You know, a child needs to be taught certain things, how to take care of themselves, how to clean up themselves, how to be sanitary. There are lots of things that children need direction in. And so we need to, I think, just be more involved.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's a process. It's a process. And I think once I said government needs to help doing it. And like Mr. Cowie was saying, we need a few good people that has a true nationalistic approach. And I don't care whether these people come from PUP, UDP, or Side P. These people, we need to have some of these people present in government,
Or the
that will-
diaspora.
or the diaspora, that will actively go about trying to make our society better. And until we have that kind of resolution, result, action from people, it's going to remain what it is.
I see the UN is sitting, and
Yeah.
the President Biden has been there.
Yeah.
And a funny thing,
Zelensky
because
was there too.
yeah, but they're speaking peace while lobbying for more money, more billions of dollars, and
Another
see
$20 billion after giving $60 billion. But
billion.
yeah, what I see the Ukraine war is a proxy war at this point.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm advocating for Russia in any way, but this is a proxy war, and they're using Ukraine to do damage that wouldn't otherwise been done. And I don't really believe that Russia represents a threat to the United States.
I don't think so either.
I think the threat is other places, you know, and I don't say that China is our enemy, but I don't think the threat was Russia in the United States. Why some people were so determined to kind of put them to their knees? It seems to be just, you know, just an old grudge and stuff from way back. Because yeah.
What I'd like
the Ukraine war is costly. That's what you said. Or
oh man, it's costing
it already cost $60 billion, and that doesn't include.
You said it's costly. That's what you said.
Yes.
All right.
And it's already cost $60 billion, and European nations have also contributed.
Yeah, but any war is costly. No. Let me ask you the question: do you believe that the benefit that could derive from it will be able to justify the cost?
Not that cost.
You see, I don't.
What's the benefit you believe?
I didn't see Russia as a threat. I didn't see Russia as a threat to the United States. I think, as I said, I think the threat is otherwise. So
no,
I
the
don't.
question I'm asking, Mr. Morrissey, you're not answering my question.
Okay.
You told me that the war is costly. I don't know of any war that isn't costly, but I think I understand what you mean.
Yes.
So I'm asking you, have you asked yourself, what is the benefit that those who are meeting the cost have expected from it? If I tell you I'm going to put money into this field, it's because I believe that I will benefit. No,
yeah, but that's a difficult question, though.
The people, I could answer that question. I
don't think you can, but go ahead, try.
No, I think I could answer that question.
Go ahead and try.
I believe, unless you know what are the benefits.
Yeah, I believe that there are people in the military industrial complex whose sole purpose and business is selling arms and selling armament, and therefore, when these are spent, there's a replenishment that occurs that fills their pocket. So that's the benefit I see of it. I do not believe that Russia represented a threat to the United States. Not then. They even if they had taken Ukraine, right? I don't think that that meant that they would have somehow go into other countries like Poland and the other countries that borders them.
All right, can I follow up the question?
Yes.
You said to me just now that the United States is benefiting through the industrial complex. The capitalists, they invest because then they manufacture the hardware.
Yes.
Now, do you believe that all the allies that are supporting Ukraine are driven by the industrial complex of capitalistic greed? That's what you think? Or
I think some of that same principles layer over with them, and I think some of them are being bullied by the United States.
No. Are you saying, I ask you a simple question.
Okay.
You told me
yes
that the United States investment in the war is to benefit the people who are building and selling the hardware.
Well, he didn't exactly lay it down stern like that. He said he believed that. He has a suspicion of it.
But that's a fair question. I believe that some of that same principle outlies some of those European countries. But what I'm saying, the European investment is only about
correct
10 or $12 billion. It's the United States is 500 times what they have put into this war.
Not 500 times. I know it's not 500.
Well, it's like 12%, and they're like 12 or 15 billion.
The U.S. investment
is 60 billion, and they just asked for another 29 billion dollars.
No, there is something that can go and find it. The U.S. investment in the war, based on the GDP, is giving the largest amount. That's a fact.
But yes.
But I'm talking to you.
I thought you were going to tell us how much.
No, he's giving a percentage. That's fine. I'm saying
I guide the conversation by saying to you that
the U.S. is that disproportionately putting in.
All I wanted to do, Mr. Morrison, was when you made the statement, it's a costly war, and I believe that it's not a statement that you have made in isolation. I thought that you were looking at a cost-benefit analysis. No, you are saying
no. I'm looking at a strategic cost analysis of it. That is part of it.
Or maybe a cost-loss analysis.
The benefit. I asked you the benefit. You told me it's costly. All right, we'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
I asked you the benefit. You said the benefit is to benefit those who are making the hardware.
Yes.
The military hardware. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Fine. So
yes.
we agree with that. I mean, sorry.
Yes.
I agree. I know they agree with what you say, but I agree with that you're saying.
Yes.
No, I gone to the other allies. Particularly the European allies.
Yes.
And those that are next door to Ukraine, like Poland and them. No. Do you believe that they are driven by the same?
No. They're not exactly on the same. That's what I said.
Okay.
Some of
and
it.
What do you think are the benefits they are looking for?
Well, some of them are fearful of Russia. When you talk about Poland, when you talk about Romania and those countries, some of them do fear that Russia will create upheaval on their borders with their citizens to kind of bring them back into the fold. It's not going to be immediate, but over time. So they're putting a hard stop to that on their end.
Could it be some of them only want to please the U.S. and are concerned
that's what I was saying.
about aid that they might lose by not saying, yes, let's go along with this?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That some of them.
That, Joe? Is that possibility?
No, I thought that we were on a very good track because I wanted to take you to the next point. You don't agree with what the U.S. is doing. You're giving the reason why you think the European countries are supporting more than the fear for Russia. The geopolitics of the world is simple this. Why can't the United States be supporting it to support his allies in Europe who have the fear of Russia? Why can't the US be doing that rather than just want to do it for the military benefits of the industrial complex, the capitalists?
And you really believe that, man? You really
because there
believe
was
that?
no
No, no.
reason,
I
because
didn't say I
this war
believe
was
it. I didn't
No,
provoked.
no,
ask
no,
you.
no, no.
No,
But
no,
you,
no,
I am
no,
asking
no, no,
you.
no. Yeah, no. This war
Why
was
is it that you
provoked.
believe that the United States is giving the largest amount?
hold
We're
on, hold
talking
on,
about
hold
why
on,
it's
hold
to
on.
NATO.
Let me ask a pertinent question
Because
here.
I think we need to fair to
Yeah,
America
yeah,
and
but
we need
hold
to
on,
fair to
hold
Russia
on,
and
hold on,
China.
Joe, hold on.
This,
Give me a minute. I haven't
Yeah,
saying
man.
much here,
Back off,
but give
back
me
off.
1 minute here.
Yes,
Could
man.
they
Take
have
over.
been spending that money to try to make peace as opposed to fuel the war? Could you know those cluster bombs that they're sending there that sprue out 2,000 or other amount that only 20% do go undischarged and lay there dormant for children to come and play with? Like, do you know that they're right now still trying to clear Cambodia of landmines that
yeah,
are
and
posed not
Vietnam.
near the danger that these cluster bombs pose? Do you understand? Do you really tell me? Do you believe that maybe that 80 billion and don't lose the figure B with a B $billion could have gone towards maybe creating peace as
Yeah.
opposed? Could not the entire UN and all those ones who wanted
Peace
to
don't make
help
money. Peace don't
say
make
to
money.
Russia?
It don't serve the interests of the military industrial complex. But what I wanted to say, Russia's claim why they went into Ukraine was because Ukraine was threatening
14
them,
NATO,
to go into NATO, and
right?
would bring missiles right on their doorstep, like they have in Poland and they have in other and Romania and other countries. And that's a border now that would have extended for thousands of miles on the front of their country. The US had the same problem when missiles was to be placed in Cuba, but yet they were,
Justified.
I don't know if they really was going to let Poland at that time join NATO, but they were at least seeming to edge it on and encourage and give passive support to it. But I knew the US strategic thinkers must have always known that that would not be something that could stand in Russia, in Russian thinking, to have that anymore. But yet they did it. Yet they allowed Ukraine to play around with that idea, and Russia's justification for it, as wrong as they may be for the invasion, was that was the reason.
Yeah, but then again, you see, we're going down into something where I know we are different. But I don't mind if you allow me 1 more minute. To me, to continue to claim that this whole war was because of Ukraine maybe wanting to join NATO, and this is what really became very provocative to Russia, is not true.
Why?
That
What
is
you tell
totally
us?
not true.
What is it?
That is not
They-
true.
So
No,
Putin just get up one day and decide I want to invade Ukraine. Is that what you're
no.
saying?
Now,
What
you
are
never
you
get up
saying?
just one day and decide you want to invade
So
Ukraine.
you tell us what is true, Joe. Tell us what is true there.
I am saying that the best of my knowledge, and I am going by what I am hearing from Russia and what I'm hearing from the US, is that Russia, evidently, after the fall of the Soviet Union, and they gone into free market economies, free elections, then Putin, who came to power through that secret service that they have there, came with a totally different idea of how he wanted to take Russia. He wanted Russia to go back to the Soviet Union under his dictatorship. And then he set eyes that he wanted to begin to move again. And he set his eyes on Ukraine.
Joe, where you get that from?
Hold on. I want
That
to tell you
is
where I get it from
wrong.
right now. No, hold on. No, I am wrong because I'm
Yes, you
listening.
are.
No, man, I am wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm listening only to American version. So I am wrong in
Obviously,
that
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
When I done, I want to give me the Russian stations where only they listen to and tell me what then they say. I did tell you why they get no, since we talk about America. I get it also from listening to the British, listening to Germany, listening to Italy and all these allies. And the truth about it, that there was no need for Russia to invade Ukraine. Simple. because Ukraine was posing a threat to join NATO.
Aren't they now pressuring the NATO to allow them for Ukraine to join? Didn't they just speed up Poland's entry, or Finland, or which
No,
one
you
was
know
it?
what the position that they take now?
Sweden
That they will now come out openly and encourage Ukraine to join NATO.
Right.
But
Right.
before they wanted to accept Ukraine into the European Union, but
Yes.
not into NATO.
right.
It was not NATO. Now they are saying they are putting up their money to back Ukraine, to stop Russia, and to remove her from Ukraine. And then they believe that once they do that, they can get Ukraine into NATO.
And
That's what they
get
intend to do now.
and get Russia conquered.
His intention is indeed to suppress Russia, to contain her.
But Russia is such a small economy to the United States.
But
We
of course
have
it's small.
we are spending we have farmed NATO now that so many times quadruple Russian capacity, and we're just adding more. How could that help? How could that all the countries, the United States population is more than Russia, I think. Just the United States. Now we're adding all of Europe.
US is the fourth most populated country in the world.
Right. So
Yes.
how could that all these countries now Russia be a threat to them that they need to add more?
And who's going to
does not have
constrain the US?
military capacity of
You know
United
what is-
States,
you know
much
what is
less
the
the
threat
United
now?
States and NATO.
You know what is the threat? Putin, not Russia. Putin is the threat, not Russia. Putin
Why?
is the threat. If
But
they
why?
remove Putin tomorrow, the threat goes
Russia
away.
is Putin.
Are you
and
serious?
Putin is Russia.
Are you serious, Joe?
There's no
You believe
difference.
You really believe that?
Of course I do.
But Putin does represent a threat, and Russia
He
wouldn't have
does.
taken that
And stop the belief
stance.
that he's not a dictator.
When
Yeah.
when they removed Trump, did they remove the threat of white supremacy?
The difference behind
how
the
that he
difference.
stands for?
All right. Very good analogy. Very good. Let me tell you why. What they are doing in America now, the ultra conservatives, the fringe with Trump, the cult movement, they could have never tried that in Russia. Putin may deal with it a long time.
Well,
Never.
which is the better system then?
The American system.
And who's gonna restrain America when they get ready to go out there and
You
do
know who
another
are in
Iraq?
America? The American people. You know, I'm be Obama. You know, I'm be Biden. And you know, I'm be Trump. And you know, I'm be McCarthy.
You really believe that the American people have the voice that's
That's right.
necessary
I
to
believe
stay
that
America in the way it's
with
going?
all its faults, it still allow that freedom to be able to go and vote, that freedom of free speech. He does, and let's not take away from the good of him with all its faults.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
saying
believe in the long term. In the long term, the will of the people rule because
That's
but
right.
but I think in the immediacy of things, a war and stuff, it is the military industrial complex and the power that kind of dominate things. But we see that in the long term, when the people start getting activated, the government does have to make consideration for the people.
But
Joe,
let me
you have
tell
a pretty
about
good
Let
idea.
me tell you about the military industrial complex. And you have books written on it who condemns it. The truth about it. You see that ultra conservative, right wing of the conservative, that then they back the industrial complex.
Yeah.
That them.
No.
They are the danger.
No. Tell
So
me,
what you are saying, they would want to promote war so that they could benefit. Because the whole
tell me, Sonny
function
Joe.
of what they are doing now has nothing to do with ethics
tell
and
me,
good
Sonny Joe.
governance.
You're familiar with money and figures and whatnot. Do you consider $60 billion a big sum?
Relatively speaking, relatively.
Relative to what?
All right. $1 billion for
Relative
Belize.
to 200 billion, maybe, no?
$1 billion for Belize is a big sum. $1 billion for the United States is a small sum.
Why?
But $60 billion could pay off all this. Well, I don't remember what the student loan is,
No, man, I'm saying to you.
but it could put a
Mr.
good
Chairman,
dent in.
Mr. Chairman,
Do you
everything
think?
in life is relative.
And so, do
$1
you
million
think?
to the United States GDP is
Joe,
very
Joe.
small compared to Belize.
Joe,
Of course,
don't
that
compare
is
us to
true.
Belize then. Compare us to England.
It is still small.
Still small.
Because
60 billion
America,
is a little bit of money.
Yeah.
remember, right now, even China, when it comes to the GDP, Russia, America has a far bigger GDP than China.
Yeah.
And bigger than Russia.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. The two of them combined.
Yeah.
But still, you're throwing that out there, but you can't just dismiss that like that. $60 billion
It is a lot of money,
is
and it
a
could
lot
buy,
of
it could
money.
buy a lot of, it
$60
could buy a
billion.
lot
Regardless
of
of
things.
how you look at it. And
Well,
even
I
in
am not dismissing it. No,
you
no.
know what it could do in America?
It could remove all those homeless people. It could remove all those homeless
Exactly.
people from off
yes.
the street.
So it could
Exactly.
do, and
No,
not
I'm not
only that,
dismissing 60 billion.
and maybe it could influence some of those other countries out there on the side of peace as opposed to
Yes.
war.
And
Yeah,
it
but the
means
difference,
one of my concern, it could mean that you wouldn't have all the migration that we are having if they were to spend some of those billions of dollars in the Caribbean trying to make life better for those people where they live rather than create
High prices.
Mr. Morris, you're saying kind of
Ridiculous living
discussion, yeah.
conditions.
Do I either encourage them? Because I think we need to come to a common understanding with it. When your country is under threat from a foreign power, you cannot sit back and say, no, something. We could have defended ourselves, but if we tried that, that money could have put better to help the poor.
Which country
But
is
I'm
which
not-
country is under threat?
I'm not saying that Ukraine shouldn't fight. I'm just saying we shouldn't
Of
be paying
course.
for them to fight.
Of course.
But
I don't have no problem
you
with-
think, Joe, that,
No.
that America
I
is
don't,
under
I don't
threat?
have any
Do you
problem
think?
with every Ukrainian grandma grabbing a machine gun. I
Of
don't have any
course,
problem with
because that is Ukraine under threat.
Yes.
Is the U.S. under threat?
Yeah. That's my concern. That's my
Mr.
concern.
Chairman and Mr. Morrison,
Yes.
I will speak for the United States in the context of the global politics. You can say, just like what the President of the United States, and the Theodore, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt, was saying, when the British called upon him to support them, to stop the Germans, they refused to. They
Mhm.
did. He said because the German move into Europe was not a threat to them. You know what brought America into the war? What do you think triggered America to go into the war?
Your story. Tell me, Joe. Tell me.
When they bombed Pearl Harbor.
The United
When the
States
Japanese
wanted to go
attacked
into
Pearl
that
Harbor,
war.
that then the Americans realized they have to form the alliance.
They-
And the
they-
Americans,
they-
the Russians, and the
there are
British came together with the
documentation that
French
the
and
U.S. knew that the Japanese were planning to attack, but that's the only way they could persuade the people to involve themselves in the war. So that
they fought on that, but Michael left that. The point about it,
Yeah,
that they felt that they were safe. They were across the Atlantic, and there was no need to go over Europe and send their sons and daughters there.
Be careful of being naive enough to believe
You can't,
any
I
propaganda
you
when
can
they
trust
tell
me,
you.
Mr. Chairman. It's not about being naive.
All
It's
right.
not about being naive.
Yeah. When you
find the United States have allies in Europe,
Joe, it's
under
noble
the
of you.
Dayton Agreement, an
It's
attack
noble
on
of you.
one is an attack on all.
It's
And if they
noble
attack
of you.
one,
It's
America
noble
has
of
to go to
you.
their support.
It's noble of you to stand in defense of the U.S. and that's all right.
No,
As
no,
it is,
I am not
hold on,
standing.
let me finish my thought. As it is
Go
to
ahead.
stand
Sure,
in
sure.
defense of your party. When you stand in defense of your political party, but at some point you have to be able to look beyond that and just be objective. And I think that's the better thinking, as
That's
opposed
exactly
to
what I do.
that towing a
I'm a
party
PUP.
line.
I'm a PUP,
Or I'm saying-
but when they're
or-
wrong, they're wrong. I am not saying that the United States doesn't have fault. The problem I define with some people, and please, Mr. Morrison, forgive me for saying it. We need to be more level-headed. We need to be more balanced. We need to be more fair with the judgment of the U.S.
no.
If I were to begin to tell you
Mhm.
that the experience which I know you and Mr. the chairman have been in America far longer than I have been, but I have been there. I've been in America. And I'm telling you the truth, I had developed a kind of hatred for that same white supremacist crowd because of what I saw they were doing. And I was close to the Black Panther Party over in Oakland. I was in San Francisco. I used to go down to the bridge there, and I saw the wrongs that they were doing to the black people in America. And I begin to develop a hatred for white people in America. But I thought that I was becoming young and I was still. Then I realized that there's a lot of white Americans who are fighting the cause of the blacks.
Oh yeah. No, I have no hatred for any American, black, white, or any color. That's and I love this country, and I believe it is one of the noblest of nations in the world. And I believe that with the Constitution, it gives us a great deal of hope and aspiration to even get better. But it also means that there are things that this country has done wrong that we have to recognize, and we have to see it, and we have to understand the powers that control this country and why at times the government is doing things that is totally opposed to the good nature of the American people.
Let me
I
call
think
a
one of
couple
the
of
kindest and most generous people are the American people.
Yeah, but what I do,
we never need to do none of the things that we did. If you had said that from the beginning, I agree with you. I finished.
No, let us look at
But
a
I like
couple
how you
of.
put it. No, you put it in the right context.
Let me
What you
call
said
a
is
couple of
exactly what I
names.
believe in.
Let me call a couple of names for you. Dr.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Medgar Evers, and we could go on, and the amount of people that have been killed for just their ideas. Now, let me ask you another question. Do you believe that there are any good people in Russia?
Of course.
I believe the majority of the people in Russia are good. The majority.
Yeah.
Okay.
Russian and I think we have made them. I think in American society we have made Russian people villains.
The majority of the people in Russia.
We made them villains, yeah.
Yeah, we have made them villains for our own political cause. But I think they're just like people. They want to live. They want to raise their children.
I think so.
They want to be prosperous.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as are the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have good people there too. But I think let's look at it.
You think any Russians could come out openly and speak about Putin like how Trump speak about Biden and how others speak about them president and about them congressmen?
Yeah.
They are not doing it in Russia.
Yeah.
But Joe,
you tell me that's not true. That's a fact.
But there are people in America, they are not speak to America about America. You might get away with it if they figure you're harmless. But if they figure that you're what you're saying there might create some kind of stir that could affect the Daley House standing up as it is, you're not going to be able to do that. I call those names to you for that specific reason.
Repeat what you said just now. I didn't get it.
I said that in the United States, you can say that with the freedom of speech and that you could get up and say anything you want to. You basically cannot. You have to really be aware of what you're saying, who's listening to you, how it's going to affect their status quo.
And what your power position is.
Yes. So I call those names for you for that specific reason. Did you hear me when I mentioned the names to you?
But what you are telling me, I'm not disagreeing with you. I never did say that freedom of speech is absolute. I never said that.
But you're saying it exists in America, but not in Russia.
In the United States, you have more freedom of speech than you have in Russia.
Well, that's relative also. That's like the 64 billion, no? That's relative too.
You think that Trump, when Trump says that what he said was his freedom of speech?
What
Nobody is questioning Trump's.
What did he say? What did he say?
That what he did, he gone against the Insurrection Act and the RICO Act. That's what he gone against. That's not freedom of speech.
But
he had the freedom to lie.
But yes, he has
the freedom of speech to lie. And
boy, that I've heard something like that before. Is ridiculous. It's after 9, guys. we're gonna do this again next week, same time, same place. Thanks for being up with us. I'm sure you'll get a stimulus check from Biden soon. Have a nice evening, folks. CY, are you there? Take us away.
Thank you.
Respect, guys.
Respect, my brother.
Happy Independence Day, Belize.
Yes. Happy Independence Day. Be safe.
Long live Belize.
Long live Belize.
Apex predator. So treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water, or like a polar bear from outer Alaska. If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba. Apex predator. So treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water, or like a polar bear from outer Alaska. If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba. I'm putting whole countries in crisis. Opportunists, 10 clicks from my target. Check my 6. Situational awareness. You play checkers, play chess. Corporate takeover. MK Ultra, Smokey. Make the baseline deeper, vibe. Pass the choker to this barn warrior. Belize blue hole, free diver. The pearls we're after. Jungle whisperer. We spend months among the river. With a diet of rainwater and cassava. Cut the brute and tableta vibrata. Silencer, sniper, bit viper, supply the corner. Heavyweight lifter, hit jammer. But if we need the coroner, cause I got the heat seeker for any infiltrator attempting to circumvent my perimeter. Infrared detecting temperature of the backbiter. Hater, pretender, repeat offender, base defiler, wanna be successor. Buried like last treasure, I'm a drifter. Loner, sufferer, post-traumatic disorder, paranoia, schizophrenia. My friends' names are Luger, Beretta, Sweeper. I am an A-15 modifier. Hair trigger, itchy finger, uploader, nozzle, hot lava, chest cavity like a crater. Elite, Delta, Gurkha, special ops, strain in the Somerset Krieger. Evading IEDs and RPGs, slung by lurkers. Added flame to the fire. Pipeline paper chaser, ICBM, nuclear. Flashback to Iwo Jima. I will resort to torture. Water bordering, intel gathering, global satellite positioning, self-duplicating. It's me, I'm cloning. Have them homing in like pigeons. Off of them backs, still impenetrable, like a military industrial complex. Then I hear me when we sing, we say, no for them backs, still impenetrable, like a military industrial complex. Them backs, them backs, yo. Them again. Apex predator. So treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water, or like a polar bear from outer Alaska. If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba. Apex predator. So treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water. Apex predator. So treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water, or like a polar bear from outer Alaska. If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba. Apex predator. So treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water, or like a polar bear from outer Alaska. If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba. I'm putting whole countries in crisis. Opportunists, 10 clicks from my target. Check my 6. Situational awareness. You play checkers, play chess. Corporate takeover. MK Ultra, Smokey. Make the baseline deeper, vibe. Pass the choker to this barn warrior. Belize blue hole, free diver. The pearls we're after. Jungle whisperer. We spend months among the river. With a diet of rainwater and cassava. Cut the brute and tableta vibrata. Silencer, sniper, bit viper, supply the corner. Heavyweight lifter, hit jammer. But if we need the coroner, cause I got the heat seeker for any infiltrator attempting to circumvent my perimeter. Infrared detecting temperature of the backbiter. Hater, pretender, repeat offender, base the filer, wanna be successor, buried like last chaser, I'm a drifter, loner, sufferer, post-traumatic disorder, paranoia, schizophrenia. My friends' names are Luger, Beretta, Sweeper. I am an A15 modifier, hair trigger, itchy finger, uploader, nozzle, hot lava, chest cavity like a crater, elite, delta, Gurkha, special ops, strain in the sums of Krieger, evading IEDs and RPGs, slung by lurkers, added flame to the fire, pipeline paper chaser, ICBM, nuclear, flashback to Iwo Jima, I will resort to torture, water bordering, intel gathering, global satellite positioning, self-duplicating, it's me, I'm cloning, have them homing in like pigeons, senior. Off of them backs, still impenetrable, like a military industrial complex. Then I hear me when me sing, we say, no for them backs, still impenetrable, like a military industrial complex. Them backs, them backs, yo, them backs, again. Apex predator, so treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water, or like a polar bear from outer Alaska. If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba.